Do you feel sometimes that your selling efforts are not succeeding? You're putting in so much effort, but you're not getting the results you want? Please attend our program in Selling to Win and find out why. There are 10 common selling mistakes that Selling to Win will cure. First one is negotiating prematurely. This is always a problem for people that don't understand the sales process. And you've got to separate the two factors of selling and negotiating. And in between that, you've got to get somebody to commit. Commit to buy is one thing, closing a deal is another. But negotiating prematurely is often a situation that occurs when people get into negotiation on price and terms and conditions, and they haven't yet sold effectively. And there are techniques and there are methods upon which you can confidently base your assumptions, which we will teach you in Selling to Win, that make sure this doesn't happen. This is an almighty failure in most people's lives who are in sales. The second thing is the marketing delusion. This is something that occurs often where people are afraid of selling, or they feel shy about putting themselves forward, and then they depend upon marketing. Now, marketing is no more than a support for sales. Marketing doesn't sell anything. Marketing is a delusion when it comes to actually closing deals, because you've got to have a closure between two people. And marketing can only tell you how to support your programs or whatever you're selling, your services, your products. And it's delusionary to think that it will actually affect a sale. So there are two basic strategies we look at in Selling to Win. One is a market demand pull strategy, and another one is a supply push strategy. But if you're taking your stuff to the market, you're going to have to use marketing to support you, but ultimately you need to learn how to sell and not rely on marketing. Their biggest fear. Many people don't know that the biggest fear that a person has the first time you meet them in the first engagement is, in fact, that you've come to sell me something. So they have an inherent fear, and there is a methodology necessary to address that and to deal with their primordial instinct to fly away or to fight with you. And that needs to be engaged on a basis of understanding. So Selling to Win will show you how to do that and ensure that you get past this fear and then get into a discussion in selling, which will yield results. Many times again, people forget that the buyer has emotional needs. And there are two primary emotional needs that a buyer has. The one is for certainty, for you to project with certainty. And there are 5 things that you have to do to be able to ensure that you get that right. And that basically is what we will teach you in Selling to Win. So emotional needs are paramount in the buyer's minds. Certainty and significance are the 2 essential emotional needs that need to be addressed, and Selling to Win will teach you how to do that. I find that people fall for this trap a lot when they say to you, put something in the post. It's a common objection. But objections generally have a methodology upon which you need to obviously address, the clarification that they're asking. All objections are really asking for more information. And there is a technique which we will show you in Selling to Win, and we will practice that. And you will see how difficult it is actually to put into practice, yet how simple it is to apply. So put something in the post is something you're going to get from somebody that is really wanting more information, but doesn't really know why they're asking the question of you other than to get you out of the way. So you've got to deal with the emotions, you've got to deal with the logic, you've got to deal with the emotional intelligence related to how you manage this objection. Ignoring the silent WIFM. So this is a big problem because most people will think that if they get an engagement with somebody to sell something to them, that person wants to know from you what you're selling. And you will fall into a trap if you don't, if you ignore the silent WIFM, which is what's in it for me. There are 3 levels that this has to be addressed at. There's a personal level, there's a social level, and an organizational level. And it's important, and we will show you how to deal with this, because you've got to motivate the person and you've got to get them to believe. And you've got to give them something of value, which is attributable to them at those three levels. I talk about a telling catastrophe. This is a habit we all fall into, because we think when we approach somebody that they have an interest in what we've got to sell to them. What they're interested in is what they can get out of it and the value appropriate to it. And we fall into a trap by speaking to them on a telling basis. We tell them rather than sell to them. Selling is a skill which is based on listening, and it's based on asking questions. And there are techniques to overcome this and your inclination to tell rather than sell. Then there's the unfair exchanges of price and value. Any kind of sales transaction will involve a fair exchange, or should. And there will always be a price and there will always be a value attributable. Now, dependent upon the strategy that you're employing for selling and where you are in the process, it will be determined that you only negotiate price. Okay, but when you get objections about price, you need to show the value attributable to that to outweigh the later problem that people ask you, how much does it cost? Of course, in a demand pull situation where they come to you because of your marketing, they want to know what the price is immediately. So you have to give them that price. But there are techniques to deal with these things. And if you don't deal with them correctly, you create an unfair exchange. And that's the biggest sin that you commit in selling. Missing their fitness indicators. Everybody has a fitness indicator. In other words, they buy from you in accordance with what is appropriate to make them look good. So people buy for their own reasons, obviously, but it's up to you as a salesperson to engage them to a point of understanding what their fitness indicators are. So if you live in a middle class area, let's say, and you decide to buy a nice new, brand new Rolls Royce, and you rock up and everybody else has got Volkswagens and Fords, you will not find an appropriate mix in that circumstance. So you're really not fit to buy a Rolls Royce, not that you couldn't afford it, but it doesn't look good. And you need to engage and align people's fitness indicators. And it's often something that the salesperson doesn't do. Selling to win will teach you that. There's also the come back tomorrow syndrome. This often happens when you don't close the deal appropriately, or you don't know where to close the deal. So you have to break the rapport at one stage if you've developed trust with the person, and really question them to get a commitment from them before you move into a negotiation. And if you don't do this, what happens is they say, come back tomorrow. Well, I'll see you next week. Can we continue this discussion another time? So you must understand when that comes, how to do it, deal with it in the circumstances that are appropriate, and make sure you don't have to come back tomorrow. Remember that you are selling to people and that you are a frail and at risk person unless you have the context of what we've just been talking about. And you need to make sure that you don't land in a ditch you can't get out of. These are common selling mistakes people make. And selling to win will certainly provide you the solutions to all of them. Please remember, they buy for their own reasons and not yours. So what will people learn through selling to win? They're going to learn, this is a how-to program. This is going to teach you how to get their attention, get through their doors, and get into their hearts. Unquestionably, all of the things that have preceded this discussion that we've shown you in the 10 common selling mistakes is what allows you to get into their hearts. Second thing we're going to teach you is how to develop the trust that gets their commitment to buy. And this is important to differentiate on the basis of saying not to get them to buy, but get their commitment to buy, because you must get a commitment before you actually get them to buy. The third thing is we will improve the selling conversion ratios of salespeople and build the confidence needed to close deals. So there are aspects related to these common mistakes through the process that you use and an understanding of the techniques that you use. These are all covered in the program. You will also achieve more sales and you will overcome any limiting beliefs to produce the results that you want. So thank you for listening to me. I hope you can join me for an experience of informed business learning and application that will positively transform your life as a competent salesperson and give you a platform to create wealth.